Now that we completed our simple version of the bank rec where we entered our bank statement balances, we cleared the receipts, cleared the payments, cleared our adjustments, our reinvested interest, and we reconciled and we were able to post and print, we want to provide you with a more complex, example. We're going to use the same data set that we used in the simple bank rec problem. We've just thrown a couple issues in here. I've created some data and we're going to do some different things. We're going to work through our Excel spreadsheet, which I'll talk about in a minute. We may need to enter some transactions into UAN. We may need to discover some bank errors. So we're going to go through and give you an example. It may not be something specific to your entity, but hopefully this will just provide some examples of things that can create some issues in your bank reconciliation. So as you can see, when we go down to reconciliation and post, we have a difference here of $1,167.86. We've gone through our bank statements, we've cleared all our payments and receipts, we've gone through the simple bank rec procedure on each tab. So normally you'd call the support line at this point, and that's still an option for you, of course, but we also want to provide you with our Excel spreadsheet that we were able to produce for our online training class. Now, if you were able to attend our online training class on the bank rec procedures, you'll have this. We emailed that to you. If you don't have our Excel spreadsheet, you can find it on the UAN Link website. Just download that. It'll show up in Excel. You can save it to your computer and use it as many times as you need. This is something that you only want to use when you don't reconcile and you don't know where the discrepancy could be. It's not something that we suggest you use just to start your reconciliation. It's a step-by-step process. It's 10 steps. We'll have you print some reports. So at this time I'll go ahead and just show you our Excel spreadsheet. So the first thing you want to do on an Excel spreadsheet is print the following items. We need our cash journal for the month we're reconciling, the last posted bank reconciliation, our payment listing for the month we're reconciling, and a receipt listing for the month we're reconciling. Also, before we start our 10-step process, you just want to take into consideration your other adjusting factors that you've been carrying. Remember that those other adjusting factors aren't going to go away until you enter a transaction in UAN that corrects the problem. So if you're continuing to carry another adjusting factor, remember that it's going to be there until you enter a transaction in UAN that corrects the issue. So I'm going to go back in UAN and print the following reports. I'll show you where to find your other adjusting factor from the previous bank rec on one of the reports as well. So I'm going to go back into UAN. I'm going to go to Accounting, Reports and Statements, and the first report we need is our cash journal. We need this for the month that we're reconciling, which is February. And I'm just going to display it on the screen so everyone can see it. I'll minimize that and we'll come back to it later. We also need our last posted bank reconciliation, so that's in our bank reconciliation reports. Our last rec that we posted was in January, so I'll display that on the screen. And on this report you see you can identify your other adjusting factor. $3.74 is what we carried from the other bank rec. So that's an easy place to find that other adjusting factor that we've been carrying from our previous bank recs. Again, I'm just going to minimize that and we'll come back to it later. We also need our payment listing for the month we're reconciling, which is February. And finally, we need our receipt listing for the month we're reconciling. Again, that's the month of February. So I'm just going to leave these reports up. Leave them minimized until we actually want to come back and use them. Alright, so I'll go back to our spreadsheet and we're just going to start on step 1. Remember, you want to follow these steps in order. Don't skip a step until you know that you've completed the first step and you get a 0 balance. So on step 1, we're going to compare the ending balance of the last bank reconciliation to the starting balance of the current bank reconciliation. Line 1, we need our current UAN balance as of whatever date you're reconciling, and that's located on line 5 of the bank reconciliation report. So I'm going to go back to our bank reconciliation report. Our current UAN balance as of the last date that we posted a bank rec was $679,135.64. I'm going to take that amount and plug it directly into our worksheet. In step 2, we need our beginning balance on the cash journal as of the beginning of the month that we're reconciling, which is on line 1 of the cash journal. I'll go to the cash journal, and I'll make this a little larger so you can see. As you can see, our month beginning balance was $679,135.64. I'm going to take that number and plug it directly into our worksheet. Line 3 will calculate itself. If line 3 is 0, we can proceed to step 2. If line 3 is not 0, then the transactions have been posted in the system or at the bank on days in between the reconciliation date of the last bank reconciliation and the start date of the current bank reconciliation. So go back to your date of your last bank rec, make sure your as of dates are correct, make sure transactions didn't post in between these dates. Our balance is 0, we can go ahead and move on to step 2. This is where we're going to compare cleared receipts to the credits on the bank statement. So on step 1 of step 2, we've got to find out our credits on the bank statement. We're going to look at that same checking account statement that we looked at in our simple bank rec, and we are just going to record the total credits in the system right off of our bank statement, $156,607.61. We also need to record our interest, which is also located on that same bank statement. That's if it's not included in the credits balance above. Some checking account statements are going to go ahead and include the interest in with this credits amount. If your bank statement separates them out, like we're doing here today, then go ahead and leave them separate. Otherwise, just leave them combined on the credits and leave this interest column blank on the worksheet. Line 3 is going to calculate itself. Now we just need to compare that to our cleared receipts located on the primary receipts tab on the bank reconciliation form. Go back to the bank rec form, primary receipts. As you can see, our cleared receipts, $156,607.61, right here. So I'm going to take that amount and plug it directly into our worksheet. If line 5 is 0, we can go ahead and proceed to step 3. If line 5 is not 0, which is the case in our example, then receipts were posted in the system that have not hit the bank statement yet, or vice versa. We need to review the receipt listing and compare to the bank statement to verify cleared receipts and amounts. If an error exists in the receipt amount and it's a bank error, then another adjusting factor can be utilized until the bank corrects that error. If the error is incorrect in UAN, then we can do a receipt adjustment. You can do that in accounting, utilities, receipt utility, and adjust. I think it's pretty clear on what our error is here, as our discrepancy matches the interest receipt. Seems like we just forgot to post our interest, right? I'll go ahead and go to the receipt listing just to show you. So our receipt listing in February, we've got that $419.96. As you can see, that was voided, so we must have voided our interest receipt by mistake. We just need to go back and enter in our interest receipt again with a post date in February. Go ahead and minimize that. We'll go back into UAN, and I'll just clean up some of these reports, get rid of those, and we need to go enter an interest receipt. So we go to Accounting, Transactions, Receipts, click the Add button, and I'm going to choose Interest. Now we want this interest in our primary checking account, and our dates that our receipt, deposit, and post date. This is very important here. When did that receipt hit our bank statement? Well, let's go back and take a look. It looks like our interest receipt hit our bank statement on February 28th, 2013. So that's the date we should enter in UAN as our receipt, deposit, and post date. Remember, you can backdate receipts to the date of your last bank reconciliation. Our last bank reconciliation was January 31st, so we can backdate receipts up to that date. So February 28th is allowable. Now I'm just going to receipt interest into the general fund, so I'm going to delete out all these revenue accounts that I don't need, enter in the amount of my receipt, I'll save that. Now UAN's not going to let me post this receipt while I have the bank rec form open, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to click post print. Just say that it printed successfully. Obviously I'm printing to a PDF because I don't have a printer on this computer. And everything posted. So I can go back into my bank rec form, edit and post. The system will let us know that a transaction's been posted to the bank rec since we've opened the form last. We know that. We'll go to our edit and post. Go to our receipts tab. As you can see, that interest receipt is there to clear. We're going to clear that receipt so it shows up on February's statement. And our cleared receipts number down here has changed to 157,027.57. So we'll go back to our worksheet, enter in that amount. And as you can see, our discrepancy is now 0 on step 2. So we can go ahead and proceed to step 3. In step 3, we're going to compare cleared payments to the debits on the bank statement. So we're going to locate our debit warrants located on our checking account statement. Our debits total $60,844.60. I'm going to take that number and plug it directly into our worksheet here. Also, if your debits for electronic payments are noted separately on your bank statement, you can go ahead and enter those as well. On our checking account statement, we didn't separate out electronic payments. It's all combined for total debits. Each bank's going to be the same. It's the same situation with our interest receipts and credits. We just wanted to give you an example of both ways where it was combined and separated out. So in this one, all our debits are combined. We don't need anything in the electronic payment column, so we'll leave that as 0. And line 3 is going to calculate itself. Now we need to locate our cleared payments on the primary payments tab on the bank rec form. Go back to edit and post my bank rec. And my cleared payments equal $59,253.04. Everybody see where I'm getting that number? And that leaves us with a discrepancy of $1591.56. So if line 5 is 0, we can go ahead and move on to step 4. That's not the case. So we may need to make adjustments, or the bank may have a posting error. If an error exists in the payment amount and it's a bank error, then we can just do an other adjusting factor until the bank corrects that error. If the amount's incorrect in UAN, then we just do a payment adjustment. You can do that in accounting utilities, payment utility, and adjust. You just want to make sure that you post date that adjustment in the month that you're trying to reconcile. So we're going to go back, and the easiest thing to do is look at your payment listing, which is here, and look at your checking account statement. And I'm going to go ahead and put these side by side for you so we can compare. And really, the only way to do this is to just look at your debits on the bank statement and compare them to your payment listing. It's tedious, we realize that, but you want to check amounts, you want to check electronic payments that have cleared, check warrants that have cleared, and you want to just trace them back and forth. Place a check mark next to each one as you locate them on the payment listing, and that'll help you find your error. Now, I've obviously created this data so I know where our error is. We have this IRS payment. We see that it's cleared the bank statement here, but it looks like it was voided in UAN. We must have voided that by mistake. Now, the example that I'm going to give is that we've cleared that IRS payment out of payroll because we had a credit on our account. When you clear something out of payroll, you need to pay it out of accounting. So we just forgot to go back into UAN and pay it out of accounting, less the amount of our credit that we got from the IRS. So all we need to really do is go back into Accounting, Transactions, and Payments. We're going to add a payment, electronic. Our vendor is the IRS. What's our post date? Well, let's go back on our bank statement and look and see when that hit the bank. Here's our IRS tax payment. Looks like it was posted to the bank on February 5th. So that needs to be our post date in UAN. Again, you can backdate electronic payments in UAN to the date of your last bank rec. You just can't backdate system warrants. If you notice that a warrant is on your bank statement and it's not in UAN, you're going to have to post date it for today's date. Just carry it as another adjusting factor until it washes out on the next bank rec. In this situation, though, it is an electronic payment, so we can just backdate it and clear it on the current bank reconciliation. I'm just going to enter in a quantity and a description here. Obviously, this is just training class, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. We just need to get this information in here for you guys. It doesn't matter which account I'm charging. Some of you might find it kind of funny that I'm going to charge it to our salary township fiscal officer account. So we're going to take your money and pay the IRS with that. Obviously, don't do that in real life. It's just for training class. Trying to provide a little comic relief here on our screencast. So I'm going to save that, close out. I'm going to go ahead and minimize our checking account balance. UAN isn't going to let me post that payment until I close out of my bank rec form, so I'm going to go ahead and close out. And I'll post print that payment. Again, I'm just printing it to a PDF because I don't have a printer here. I'll just say that it printed successfully. Go back to my bank rec form, go to Edit and Post. Yes, we know that transactions have been posted. We just posted that electronic payment, so it should show up to clear. We'll give UAN 1 second to load our bank rec form. Go to the Primary Payments tab, and as you can see, that electronic payment shows up to clear. So we'll check that, say that it's cleared the bank. We've got a new amount on our cleared payments. It's $60,845.60. So I'll go back to my form and enter that amount directly into our worksheet. When I enter that in, I still have a discrepancy here of $1. So we've got more than one issue in payments, don't we? Let's go ahead and move on to step 4 then. So when we move on to step 4, we're going to look at our outstanding payments from our prior month on our bank reconciliation report. So I'm going to go back into UAN and look at my bank rec report. I'm going to look at my outstanding payments. So that amount is $32.33.65. We also need our current month payments total. That's on the payment listing. So I'll go back to the payment listing. And our total payments here. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and run that again because we've posted a payment since I've opened that report. So I need to go back into my payment reports. That way it reflects the correct number because we posted that electronic payment since I'd run that report the last time. And there's the correct number, 59,817.29. Line 3 is going to automatically populate. Line 4 is going to populate because it's our total debits from our checking account, which we pulled from line 3 here. So our worksheet's all tying together here. Now we need our outstanding payments located on the Primary Payments tab on the bank reconciliation form. Our outstanding payments total $21.34.50. Everybody see where I'm getting that number? And we also need to mark our prior year warrants that were marked void on our bank statement. Well, if you remember back from our simple example, we marked this cleared as a prior year warrant that we needed to void. So we need to enter in that amount, $70.84. And we're still left with this $1 discrepancy. So we've gone through step 3, we've gone through step 4. We obviously have an issue in our payments. If line 8's 0, you can go ahead and move on to step 5. If line 8's not 0, which is the case, we need to make sure we've cleared the correct warrants and electronic payments and that they're cleared for the right amount. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my payment listing. And again, the only way really we're going to be able to find our discrepancy is to compare the amounts and the cleared warrants and electronic payments to our checking account. So I'm going to bring up both of those documents side by side so we can compare. Whoops. There we go. Just trying to make it easier for you guys to see. So we're going to go through all these debits, look at all the check numbers that have cleared, and compare that to our payment listing. It's a little bit of a tedious process, I realize that. And I'm not going to go through here and do this in our screencast. I already know which warrant's incorrect, so I'm just going to point it out to you. This warrant here, 19,634, check for $19,911. Let's go on our payment listing and investigate that check. So on warrant 19,634, we've got an amount of $19,912. So we've got our $1 discrepancy here, $19,911, $19,912. The bank has underposted our payment. We posted it right in UAN, so there really isn't anything else we can do besides do another adjusting factor. And go ahead and close out of the payment listing. We're done with that report. Or minimize our checking account. And we've located our discrepancy. So we got to go into other adjusting factors. This isn't a UAN balance adjustment because we entered it incorrectly in UAN. This is going to be a bank balance adjustment. So is it a deflating bank error or an inflating bank error? Well, did they underpost a receipt? No. Did they overpost a payment? No. So it must be an inflating bank error, right? Because they underposted our payment for $1. The bank posted it for $19,911. We posted it in UAN for $19,912. I'm going to type in bank posting error so we know the source of our other adjusting factor, and I'll save that. We still don't reconcile. How could this be? We move on to step 5, clearing our adjustments. So if we made payment or receipt adjustments or fund balance adjustments in the month, you got to make sure that you clear those. The original payment and receipt amount are still going to be listed, so it's necessary to clear any adjustments on our adjustments tab. So let's go back to our bank rec, make sure our adjustments are cleared. Looks like we've done that. Let's go on to our step 6. We need to make sure we cleared our reinvested interest receipts. We go back to our bank rec form. It looks like those are cleared as well. Our balance comparisons tab. We can go through this if worse comes to worse in every single account and try to reconcile those accounts. We've already done our other adjusting factor. So it's pretty clear at this point that it's not a discrepancy in our checking account, right? We go to reconciliation and post and our difference is $374. Does anyone remember where that amount is coming from? If you had guessed that that was our other adjusting factor that we had carried from our previous bank rec, you would be correct. So remember that other adjusting factor, we've carried it from our previous bank rec. We don't think it was an error in our checking account from that time either. So where could this discrepancy be? We are going to move on to step 9. UAN now requires you to reconcile all your accounts, including investments and secondary checking account balances. This is new in UAN. So we want to make sure that we don't have a discrepancy in our investment accounts. If you're confident the source of your error and your other adjusting factor you've been carrying is not in your checking account, then you want to run the following procedures to make sure that your investment balances are reconciled. So step 1, we're going to look at our investment and secondary checking account balances from the most current year end. I've already run that report. You can go to UAN Tools in the prior year reports, then go to Accounting, Reports and Statements, Information and Status, and go to your primary bank reconciliation. Like I said, I've already got that report, so I'll go ahead and pull that up, and my balance on my investment, I've got it highlighted here, is $325,964.11. Whoops. In our example, we don't have any secondary checking account balances. Obviously, if you do have secondary checking account balances, you would want to run those reports as well. Those will be listed here. Okay, we're done looking at our prior year report. Now we need to look at our investment balances from the bank. Go back to my investment balances, and we need them as of 12/31. Well, that's as of 2/14, so we must have some older statements here for that money market. Our super saver is as of 12/31, so we're going to enter in that balance, $130,322.01. And we're going to add that to our money market investment balance from 12/31 as well. So here's our money market balance as of 12/31, $195,645.84. I obviously didn't type in something right. 195,645, sorry. And as you can see, there's our discrepancy of $3.74. So if line 3 is 0, you know the error is in the current year. So you can just go to step 9A. In step 9A, really, because we've only done 2 months in our example, you just need to go back and look at your investment activity reports and compare those to your basically your investment statements at the bank. You've had a current year error, which is easy to fix. You could just do an investment transfer in the current year if you need an investment balance moved from your primary account. However, our balance is not 0, so we're going to move on to step B, 9B that is, and that means it's a prior year error. This is more than likely going to be the case for you guys. Because we hadn't reconciled our investments in the past, it would have been very easy for you to just miss an account balance not matching up on your bank statements and what you have in UAN, especially if the amount wasn't considered material. So in step 9B, we describe the procedures that you need to go through. So the only way to correct a prior year error in the current year is through a fund balance adjustment. It's important that you discover the source of the error rather than just plugging a fund balance adjustment for the amount of the discrepancy in the current year. Once you find the source of the error, most likely a failure to post interest in an investment or a secondary checking account, you can just post a fund balance adjustment in the amount of the discrepancy, and we're going to do that for you in accounting utilities and the fund balance adjustment utility, and then we'll clear it out on our bank statement. So I'm going to walk you through that procedure. Go back into UAN. We go to accounting, utilities, fund balance adjustment utility, and we're going to click the add button. I'm going to have to go and edit out of my bank rec form. So in order to discover what fund our fund balance adjustment is, and you're going to have to go back and reconcile all your investment balances at the bank with your reports in UAN and the prior year reports. Once you find out which investment the error was located in, you'll figure out which fund you need to post the fund balance adjustment in. I'm going to say that we're going to look in the general fund. We're going to do a fund balance correction in the amount of $3.74. Make sure that we date it in February because we want it to show up on our February bank rec. And our reason is failure to post interest in an investment in the prior year. You'll need to know the year. I would put the year in your reason. That way audit can trace it back. Really, the more information you put in the reason, the better, because audit is going to scrutinize your fund balance adjustments like the system message says every time you add them. I'm going to post and close. I'm not going to worry about printing a report. I'm going to go back to my bank rec form. Yes, we know we posted that fund balance adjustment. And once my bank reconciliation form is available, I can go into my Adjustments tab, clear that adjustment, and as you can see, we are reconciled with the green check mark. We have located our prior year error. Now we are able to reconcile now, so I'll go ahead and post print, and we can post print at that point. But when you do that fund balance adjustment, that just moved that $3.74 into the cash balance of the current year in your primary checking. If that's supposed to be in an investment, we need to do an investment transfer. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you the screen. I'm not going to go through it, but it's just an investment transfer. You just do primary to investment. Once you discover which investment needed to have the interest posted to it, you can just enter in the amount, which was $3.74, and the date, and then you should be able to reconcile and your investment balances will be correct. We know that that's not something that would be very easy to discover. That's why we've created this worksheet for you. And we understand that with the new bank reconciliation form, new complications may arise. We're really hoping that this worksheet helps you work through all of your issues. Go ahead and try to work through the worksheet. Go step 1 through 10 in order. Print the reports that you need to print before you give us a call. Even if you don't find the discrepancy exactly in this worksheet, we should be able to narrow it down, whether it's a problem in your starting cash balances like in step 1, or if it's a problem in receipts like in step 2, payments step 3 and 4, and if you have an investment balance problem, we'll review step 9. Hopefully you can utilize our worksheet in a positive way. It'll make our phone calls much easier on the support line. That way we can kind of pinpoint where the problem is. We've been getting such a broad range of calls, that's why we wanted to put this screencast out there. Once again, feel free to call the support line at any time if you're having trouble, 800-833-8261, or you can email us at uan_support@auditor.state.oh.us. Thanks for your time, and enjoy your day.